Emily was a young woman from New York who believed she had found her soulmate in a man she met while traveling. Against her family's warnings, she chose to marry him for love, believing that their bond was stronger than any cultural or personal differences. However, the honeymoon phase didn't last long. Once they were settled, her husband's true nature surfaced. He became possessive and volatile. The man who once promised her the world began to use his hands for violence instead of affection. Emily stayed for a long time, hoping he would change, but the abuse only worsened. One cold rainy night, after a particularly brutal argument, he threw her out of the house with nothing but the clothes on her back, telling her never to return. The turning point. Broken and alone on the streets, Emily realized that the love she had fought for was a cage. She reached out to a local women's shelter. With their help, she filed for divorce and took legal action. It wasn't easy, but she rediscovered her strength. The ending. 2 years later, Emily opened her own small art gallery. She was no longer the girl who defined herself by a man's approval. She had lost her dream marriage, but in the process, she found her own voice and her freedom. She learned that choosing yourself is the most important love story of all.
After leaving the abusive relationship, Emily spent the first few months in a blur of fear and uncertainty. Nights at the shelter were quiet but comforting, filled with whispered stories of survival and hope. Slowly, she began attending therapy sessions, reconnecting with friends she had distanced herself from, and rediscovering passions she had buried long ago. Art had always been her sanctuary. One rainy afternoon, she found herself sketching in a small notebook in a cafe. Each stroke felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. The gallery of her imagination began to take shape, not just on paper, but as a vision for her future. She dreamed of a space where stories like hers could be shared through paintings, photographs, and sculptures. 2 years later, Emily's gallery opened in a quiet corner of Manhattan. It wasn't grand, but it was hers. The walls displayed raw, emotional works, some tragic, some beautiful, all honest. She hosted opening nights surrounded by friends, supporters, and fellow survivors. For the first time in years, she felt the pride of a life rebuilt on her own terms. Emily understood now that love isn't about losing yourself in another, it's about choosing yourself, over and over, even when it's hard. The woman who once stood alone on a rainy street was now a beacon of resilience, proving that the greatest love story is the one you write for yourself.